Good afternoon, everyone. Ads here from Unity Trading Group. Welcome to your Monday update. We've all had a break. I hope you're all energized and ready to go. The Discord's still being pretty active over the Easter last couple of days. So before we begin, as we always do, like the video, tap the subscribe button, and of course, tick the little bell to stay updated on all of our content that's coming up soon. A full week of updates should be. Nothing scheduled in as far as the eye can see. So hopefully we are on the way to getting all 5 updates out to you guys this week. Of course, being a Monday, we haven't had much price action over the weekend. And of course, it's been a little bit of a break or Easter period. So without further ado, let's get into BTC. What are we seeing? Where have we been? Where are we going for BTC? Now, we've been really looking at liquidity to the left-hand side. And of course, we've got the level just above us here in terms of a level of supply at 60,600. And I've got that designated with our white line at 60.6 or 60,600. There you go, say that 10 times fast. But in the way of BTC, we didn't really get there. And that was probably because we were quite stretched and overbought. You know, coming up to liquidity to the left-hand side, it is still a level of resistance at that point. If I draw in a line just to show you where that would be. So something along the lines of here would be a resistance level. We do see resistance to the left-hand side with liquidity to the left. And of course, we just drew short of it here, which was around February. But anyway, in any case, it was there, and Steamroller did give us the indication that it was there as well, where we had 2 times the level of overbought there on the Steamroller indicator. If I'm throwing on Gravy Train, there's another reason why we should be paying attention to GT, because it does give us those hidden levels of resistance. And of course, we knew this level did exist back here, where we were looking at the 26th of March, and that gives us around $60,228. But that level was around about there back in a couple of weeks ago. So it's been there for a little while. So Gravy Train giving us the goods well before the price even did get there. We were looking at around 56, 57,000 for BTC by that time. Anyway, Gravy Train aside, we are looking at price action below our current point. Of course, we are heading towards that lower band now, and I've got the most relevant level of demand drawn in at around that 55,900 area for BTC. So not a long way away, to be honest with you. But if we are to move past this level, there's a number of levels that I'd be looking for in between, one of which is, I'll draw it on the chart for you right here, round about that 53k mark. So we've got 55 or 56 basically even, and then we've got 53 even, and then down to 50. So we've got pretty much $3,000 in terms of distance between the 3 levels that I'm looking at, 56, 53 and 50. Looking at those 3 levels, 3 stages down, you could probably see that we are under our 50 RSI. So thank you to our mad scientist Craig's, or Blockhead, as you all know him in the Discord. He's created this UTG RSI trend where it's red underneath the 50, green above it. So nice little indicator for us. I think we're going to give it away. I need to confirm that with my partner in crime, Tex. So we'll let you know over the next couple of days on what we're doing with that. But a nice one, very easy one to read. But in any case, we are looking at that bearish level. We did have a retest of the 50 RSI, which was rejected. And of course, we are moving to the downside now. And of course, I'd be looking at 55,901 for BTC. So a nice, easy one to follow for now. Just as an added thing, let's put our Fibonacci in there. So swing low to high, always draw from left to right. You can see that we were held on the 38. Our 50 and our 61 line up nicely, or just nicely, with our levels of demand here. The 50 and the 38 are more noticing that it will line up quite good. But in any case, 38, 50, 61 playing nice with our designated levels of demand, for BTC. Moving on, however, ETH USD, so something we've been following for quite some time, and it's heading in the same sort of trajectory or the same sort of direction as BTC, but we're observing something a little bit different currently with ETH. So let's do our Fibonacci swing left or swing low to high, left to right. We are heading towards our 23.6. Let's draw in our levels of demand. So we've got one there currently at the 61.8, and of course that lines up nicely, very, very short of the 50 Fibonacci as well. So a couple of levels to be looking for. 38.2, that coincides nicely with our previous liquidity to the left hand side, and of course we've got the 50 and 61 that coincide okay with our very low quality pivot point there, which has formed a level of demand currently. So Ethereum pretty much on the same trajectory as BTC. I would more notably look at the 38.2 at 19.15 for ETH, providing that we do break down and through our 23.6. Now, one thing I want to point out right now, we are looking at the 23.6 or $2,000. That's a psychological round number level of support. And we are looking at the 50 RSI being held currently. So if we do with some force or with some heart, should I say, move through the 23.6 and get a close below, I'd be looking at that the 38.2, but that would push the RSI down below our 50, and of course we'd be looking for probably these three levels to be held and respected on the way down for Ethereum if we are to get that coming to fruition. Of course, it's a little bit too early to tell. Let's see what we do on the 23.6 over the next few hours for ETH. Next we'll have a look at is ADA. So ADA has been, in my opinion, an accumulation for quite some time now. We've been, really looking at the 61.8 for a little while now. We've been, moving alongside that line for quite some time. If I draw in a zone or a level just to the left around that 61.8, you can see why. Very, very easy to see why, because we do have a few levels of resistance to the left and a few levels again of resistance just to the right of that, and of course some support in the middle there where we did bounce off and then continue to the upside for a lower high that was formed off the top of the high. But we are seeing that level being respected now. The problem right now with ADA is the volume's low. So if I turn the volume on, you can see that compared to the volume we've had in the past, the volume is quite low currently. So that's why we aren't seeing any sort of clear direction in any clear direction or clear movements in any direction, whether that be the 78.6 or whether that be up back towards the 50. So we are looking like we probably closed below for a multitude of times under the 61.8. So if we are to close below and move down finally for ADA, and I'd be looking to average in a little bit more, but I'm looking towards that 1.11 area or the 78.6 at 1.10 for ADA over the course of the short term. I'd be looking at the next couple of days for ADA, and of course if we're looking at levels to see where we would come up and retest the upside, you'd be looking towards the 38.2, most notably at 1.29 or 1.3, and of course if we are to swing back up to the high, we're looking at about 142, 143 for ADA as well. So that's a decent swing, but in respect to supply and demand, if we're looking at an overall swing or an overall market cycle, we'd be looking at something towards 105, and then you'd be looking for another market cycle to the upside to complete that swing at 140. Say, if we're looking at from a level of demand to a level of supply, you'd be looking at around a 35% swing in the way of that market cycle playing out. So a couple of things to think about for ADA. If you're a little bit more patient and you trade on a higher time frame, you could probably look at the lower levels for ADA. If you're looking to average in or you trade on a 4 hour or 1 hour or whatever you trade, then I'd be looking at the more immediate levels, using your fibs at 78.6, 88.6, and of course the demand that just had that retest at 105. Next one we'll have a look at is XRP USD. Had some movements today. Now XRP looks okay on the 4 hour, and it has for the last couple of days. And I'm spewing because we didn't look at this over the course of the weekend, and we didn't pay much attention I didn't personally, didn't pay much attention to this during the Easter break over the weekend. But we'll have a look at it now. So nipping up those levels on the 4 hour, let's go to the daily time frame. That's what really matters to me most currently. So this is the overall trend for XRP, and we've got some movements to the left-hand side, a retest to the right, and of course some liquidity going through this level that we're at currently at 70 cents. I haven't removed this level because the two levels, or the two retests that we had currently at this 70 cent mark, was pushed through, closed below, immediate reaction to the downside, and of course we had the same thing, retest of this level and a very convincing close below. So this level, in my opinion, is still valid, and we are seeing that come to fruition now, where we've had this respected candle on the 70 cent mark with our overbought condition on Steamroller. And if we're turning on Gravy Train, we are getting a long signal currently, but in any case, if we're looking at Steamroller in the immediate term, we'll be looking for a little bit of a cool off. And that cool off will probably take place on a lower time frame, that being the 4 hour. So if I'm looking at drawing from left to right currently, I'd be looking towards some liquidity around the 23.6 and even the 38.2 for an immediate reaction to the downside, something like this, if that does happen. So it really comes down to, when I say the 38.2, we do need to see what happens around the 23.6. That's why I've drawn it in this fashion, where we're looking at the 23.6 initially, and that'll probably happen in the next few hours, to be honest. But if we do get a close below, you'd be looking towards that 38.2, the 50 and the 61, and that's the three areas that you can be the safest to enter something like this. If you're confident it will move back up to the upside, and that is really the key takeaway. If you're confident, if the TA that you're drawing on your chart says that we are going to move to the upside, that's what I'm really referring to. But for me, 38.2, 62 cents, not far away from where we are now, only 5 cents, will be the area that I'm looking towards for XRP. Next one, and to wrap up our first update for the week, is the US dollar currency index. Of course, this is a regulated market, not financial advice at all, just ideas and opinions of Team UTG. Let's turn on Gravy Train for this one and see where we're at. So the US dollar, let's back up a bit. The US dollar currency index has been moving to the upside for, let's say, about 3 weeks. And that came to fruition when we did cross out of the grey zone of Gravy Train and into the green, and of course we have been moving to the upside ever since. So Gravy Train is a fantastic tool for an index of this magnitude, and of course a lot of these pairs on the right hand side that you see, a lot of these Forex pairs are going to play nicely with Gravy Train as well. But if you want to know more, the link is down below. But with the DXY, we are moving into this grey segment there. So what the grey means on Gravy Train is we are either going to do one of two things. We are either going to reverse this trend and move towards the downside, or it is a pause in this market before we do have a movement again to the upside. So you do need to take it a little bit easy when it comes to these grey areas, because it could go either way. However, if we're looking at this area here, it looks like a bit of a cool off to me, where we're just moving along the level of our demand, and we are cooling off these indicators, just moving towards the 50 now. And of course the same is coming to fruition with Steamroller there, where we are cooling off that indicator, and we do have now movement or room to the left hand side or to the upside to make another movement on the 4 hour. If we're looking at a higher time frame, however, if we're looking at a daily, it is looking a little bit more bearish than it is bullish, and that is looking at, of course, Steamroller being overbought, and is also more than likely not so much Gravy Train in that instance, but more so RSI, more so Gravy Train, looking at that, and more so our bearish divergence on our CCI. There you go. So there's a few bearish indicators on a daily time frame. However, we have observed stuff or trends move to the upside relentlessly while still being quite overbought. So nothing out of the ordinary there. And of course, if you come from a crypto background, it's not going to be anything new. but we need to take in all of this information. So if we're looking at a 4-hour time frame, it could mean that we are going to move sideways a little bit for a little bit longer. If we're looking at a daily time frame, a pullback is a little bit more notable on the cards. However, I have seen it move to the upside while we are still overbought. But if I'm to give an indication on which direction we are going to go initially, I think this run is not over for the DXY, and the next area I'll be looking at is 93.5, around that negative 27, but that is a target or an area of interest that I'm looking towards probably for the remainder of this week, coming into Friday, but we'll see what happens over the next couple of days throughout our updates. Thank you all for joining me tonight. I hope you all had a great break, a great Easter break. We're back in full force in the Discord as well. You can find the links down below for that. I'm Ads from UTG, and I'll see you tomorrow. Bye for now.